Welcome to your deep dive. Today, we're going to be kind of wading into some interesting waters. AI in education, it's a hot topic. Especially, well, you sent me this research on ChatGPT, and I was like, we have to talk about this.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
So we're diving into this paper, AI Meets the Classroom. When does ChatGPT harm learning? By Lehmann, Cornelius, and Sting. Catchy title, right?
It gets right to the point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for. No need to wade through pages of jargon. We'll break it down.
Yeah.
Basically, they're looking at whether ChatGPT can actually help students learn to code or if it just creates a whole new set of problems.
Right, because everyone's talking about AI as this personal tutor now.
Yeah, like imagine having a tutor available 24/7. You could ask anything. But then, is it really learning if ChatGPT is just spitting out the answers? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, that's what's so interesting about the paper. On one hand, there's this argument that, yeah, LLMs, large language models like ChatGPT could be these incredible personalized tutors.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How would that even work with something as hands-on as coding?
So picture this. You're stuck on a piece of code. You've tried everything. You're about ready to give up, right? But instead of just Googling the answer, you turn to ChatGPT. But you don't just ask for the solution. You ask for a little nudge, a hint.
Okay, so it's like a more interactive kind of help.
Exactly. ChatGPT could explain the concept in a way that makes sense to you, maybe even give you feedback on your code in real time.
But wouldn't that make students lazy? Why even try to figure it out yourself if you can just get the AI to do it for you?
See, that's the big concern. The paper calls it over-reliance. If students are constantly spoon-fed solutions, are they actually learning to think critically?
It's like using GPS all the time. You might get where you need to go, but you'll never learn the route.
And in coding, that's a problem. The researchers actually compare it to learning math. Students often learn best by struggling a bit, making mistakes, trying different approaches, not just by copying someone else's perfect solution.
So, blindly copying from ChatGPT might get you through a homework assignment, but will it really help you in the long run? Not really.
Exactly. And to see how this plays out in real life, they actually analyze data from university programming courses.
Wait, real-world data? Did they unleash ChatGPT on unsuspecting students and just see what happened?
Well, not quite chaos, but they did find some interesting patterns. They looked at student grades and compared them to how similar their code was to code generated by ChatGPT.
Ah, so they could tell who was genuinely working through the material and who was taking the easy way out. So what happened? Did all the ChatGPT devotees ace their courses?
Well, it's funny you should ask. It's not as straightforward as you might think. Turns out, using ChatGPT for those early assignments, the simpler ones, it often did lead to better grades.
So point for Team ChatGPT, at least in the short term. But I'm guessing there's a but coming.
But, and this is a big but, those same students who relied heavily on ChatGPT early on, they actually did worse on later assignments, the ones that required more complex thinking.
Ah, so it's like they built a house of cards. Looks impressive at first, but the minute you try to add something real, the whole thing collapses.
That's a great way to put it. It highlights why just getting the right answer isn't enough. It's about building that deeper understanding so you can tackle new challenges.
Which is like the whole point of learning, right?
Exactly. And to really dig into this, the researchers set up these experiments in the lab.
Lab experiments.
Oh,
we're talking about brain scans and code flashing on screens.
Not quite that dramatic.
Great.
They wanted to isolate certain factors to see how they influenced how students use ChatGPT and ultimately what they learned.
Okay, I'm hooked. What kind of factors?
One of the most surprising things they found was how much simply being able to copy and paste changed things.
Wait, what? Copy and paste. That seems too basic to matter that much.
Right. But think about it. When you have to manually type a problem into ChatGPT, then type the answer back into your own code, it creates friction. Right?
Yeah, definitely more effort involved.
But with copy and paste, that friction disappears. It becomes super tempting to just skip the whole thinking it through part.
It's like the difference between walking to the store and ordering takeout. Both get you food, but the effort's not the same.
Exactly. And that little design choice, copy and paste it, had a huge impact on how deeply students engaged with what they were learning.
Which just goes to show that giving students these powerful tools isn't enough. We need to think about how the environment around those tools influences learning, right?
100%. And get this, another thing they found was that how students interacted with ChatGPT mattered too. Like, did they ask for solutions or explanations?
Ooh, that's a good distinction. I have a feeling I know where this is going. Those who asked for explanations, they did better, didn't they?
They did. It makes sense if you think about it. If you just use ChatGPT to get the answer, you're not really learning the why behind it. But if you ask for explanations, you're using it more as a learning partner, right?
Like the difference between asking for directions and asking someone to explain how to read a map.
Perfect analogy. It goes back to the whole AI tutor idea. It's about learning how to use these tools to deepen your understanding, not just get the answer.
Which makes me think, maybe we need to change how we teach in the age of AI. Less about memorizing facts and more about asking the right questions, evaluating information critically.
Now you're thinking. And this all ties into another really important aspect, a student's prior experience, both with coding and with AI in general.
Yeah, totally. Someone who's been coding since they were 10 probably sees ChatGPT differently than someone who's just starting out. And someone who's used to AI tools might be less likely to fall into that over-reliance trap we talked about.
You're right on the money. The research actually found that prior experience does play a big role. Students new to coding, they got more out of having ChatGPT than those who were already pretty experienced.
Makes sense. Having that extra support early on could be a game changer. But what about experience with LLMs specifically? Did that make a difference?
That's where it gets interesting. The students who hadn't really used LLMs before, they were more likely to just ask for the solution, like it was Google or something. It kind of suggests they might need a little more guidance on how to actually use these tools to learn effectively.
Right, like ChatGPT is not just a magic answer box.
Mm.
To get the most out of it, you got to know how to ask the right questions, explore different ideas.
Exactly. And this all leads to what I thought was the most fascinating part of the paper, this idea of an illusion of learning.
Illusion of learning. Okay, now I have to know more. What's that all about?
So basically, because ChatGPT makes it so easy to get answers, students can start to overestimate their own abilities. They see the right code and think, boom, they've got it, even if they didn't actually write it themselves.
It's like using a calculator to solve a math problem without understanding the steps, right?
You made it
Like got the
down.
right answer, but did you really learn anything?
Exactly. And that's what educators need to be mindful of. AI can be an amazing tool, but it can also create this false sense of confidence.
So it's a balancing act, right? Leveraging the power of AI while making sure students still put in the effort, still develop those critical thinking skills.
Absolutely. That's the challenge and the opportunity in front of us.
It's definitely something to think about. As we move into this new era of AI in education, we have to be really intentional about how we use these tools, how we design learning experiences that encourage true understanding.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a collaborative effort, figuring out how to harness these powerful tools to help students learn and grow in meaningful ways.
Well said. And that, my friends, is a wrap on another deep dive. Big thanks to expert speaker for navigating these fascinating waters with us today. Until next time, keep those brains engaged and those questions coming.